So thanks for joining us. Hey, everyone. It's Jen Frazier here, Firefly Partners. We're going to be talking about, digital tool migrations today. So a little bit of housekeeping. Katie is here with us from Firefly, and she's going to be doing some housekeeping monitoring. If there's any technical glitches, she's going to troubleshoot that, right, Katie? You got this. And if you have any questions, you got this. If you have any questions while we're talking through stuff, feel free to put it in the chat window, or if you want to raise your hand or anything, Katie will be monitoring that and tell me to pause, but I will be sort of just taking breaths and seeing what folks want to talk about today. So I've got some slides. We're going to talk about the first phase of tool migration, preparing your team. I know it's often the overlooked step. People like to jump straight into evaluating platforms, but I'm like, whoa, hold on. Get yourself in order first, and let's back it up. So we're going to go through some slides. We're going to keep this short and sweet, but certainly if folks have questions or want to ask anything or clarify or share your story, please let us know and we can stop and have you chat in your questions. Katie, did you figure out if we can unmute people one by one, or we just have to take their questions in the chat?
Yes. So if you raise your hand, I'm able to unmute you and you can ask your question.
Perfect. Okay. Sounds great. All right, well, let's dive in. So I'm Jen. Again, I've been doing this Firefly Partners thing for a while. And before that, I was also in the nonprofit digital space. I worked at National Planned Parenthood for about a decade prior to starting Firefly. And basically, I've been working with and for progressive causes for the better part of my life. And I just turned 50, so that's saying something. So thanks for jumping in and listening and sharing your stories about this phases of a tool migration. At Firefly, we help organizations think about their digital platforms all day long. We actually have a lot of folks who, again, raise their hand a lot of times when they're already in this second phase, what I'm calling the second phase. They're already evaluating, they're already looking at platforms, saying, help me find the right tools. And a lot of times when we get to that stage, we ask a bunch of the questions and talk about some of the things we're going to talk about today. And organizations are like, well, haven't done that, haven't thought about that, haven't inventoried, haven't, these other things that we're going to talk about. And so I'm just trying to help set the stage for people that you can, just jump straight into evaluating and selecting, but really you're doing yourself a favor if you back the train out just a little bit of the station and do some pre-work before you just start falling in love with all the tools out there that you might see that are shiny and exciting. So, but these are the phases we've identified after doing this for years and years. So if you want to do this really careful prep work, then you can kind of dive into evaluating platforms and then get to the point where you've kind of got that great tool in mind, and then really think about that migration and the onboarding and training process. So that's what we're going to cover over the whole 3 parts today, next Thursday, and the Thursday after that. We are going to say happy Thursday for 3 Thursdays in a row with folks, and hopefully we can share some stories and learn a little bit along the way. So today, we're going to kind of go through again some of the steps that are often overlooked, and sort of when people think about migrating to new tools, often they skip past a lot of these internal questions, preparation, a little bit of this sort of getting ready, setting the stage, and really thinking about what it's going to take to migrate to a new digital platform. So you need to really kind of get at what are the whys behind it, not just like, oh, I got really frustrated sending an email the other day and I'm done. I'm ready to break up and walk out of here and I need to go date somebody new. Maybe, again, pause, always a good idea. Think about why, what is it, what are the real reasons behind it, and how deep is the need. We'll talk about some of the ways you can talk through these things with your entire team and help you not do things in a silo. Because gosh, I've never heard that happen before. Oh wait, yes, I have. Then you want to kind of really get serious about thinking about how you currently do things. Because as we'll talk about, a new platform cannot solve internal, problems with sort of how your teams are organized, the structure of how you work, the ways in which you go at. Everyone has access to an email tool. Why is it messy? Maybe there's no, documentation or rules. There's no gatekeeper. So don't sort of also think that moving to a new platform is going to solve your you issues. Just like dating somebody new, you go into that new relationship with yourself. You have to be ready to make some changes about how you operate to really get the most out of moving to a new platform. Don't go through all that work and not make it worth your while on the other side. And then really thinking about it is getting your team prepped, who's going to be involved, what's it actually going to take, what's the time frame that you really should be anticipating. Those are some of the big things we will talk about today. So again, we'll just keep it pretty high level here. But some of the things that we're going to talk about here is oftentimes we get folks coming in and raising their hand and saying we need to move, to a new platform. And not all the time, but there are definitely occasions where we identify and uncover that actually what the organization, what the team members of the organization are trying to do is actually really capable. The tools that you're currently using are capable of doing the tasks that you are hoping to do, but it simply has been, gosh, we got onboarded onto this platform 3 years ago, and the person that bought the tool is gone, and no one's been trained, and we don't have any good documentation. All these things come up, and when we really dig under the hood a little, we kind of go, so everything you're trying to do, and you're kind of busy already kind of looking at new platforms, you can actually do in the tools that you have. So let's just, again, take a step back, make sure that we really try to get the most out of the platform that you have, that you're already using, before we spend a lot of time and money and energy looking at and moving to a new platform when you really could have done what you need to do in the tools that you have. So just make sure that it's been set up to meet your needs. That's another one. Sometimes people go, well, I've been trained, but a lot of times it's a configuration issue as well. Like maybe things just aren't set up for you properly. You don't have the right segments set up in your platform to target the right folks. There's a whole host of issues that can happen about getting the platform set up properly. And then if you kind of go, no, I cannot make this platform work the way I need it to, great. Also take a breath. And obviously, if you're in a larger organization, it really is worth your time to just poke around against other teams and say, hey, what are you using to email? I wish I had $1 for every time I worked with an organization who started in this process. And once we said, hey, have you asked around? They go, oh, I didn't know that the such and such team was using X tool. That's great. We're looking at that. We can just sort of piggyback onto their use of the platform. Didn't know that it already happened. I know it's hard to believe, but some organizations can be siloed in the way they work. So don't run off on your own and create another silo. Start the communications across the team, because even if you don't identify that another platform might already be in use by your organization, it's really a necessary first step into creating a good future state for your organization that's more holistic and really thinking about what platforms you need across the organization to really achieve your goals. So even if no one else has sort of secretly gone off and bought new tools, it's good to at least start those conversations. But oftentimes you might find that that department over there is actually using a platform that you'd like to take a look at. And so you could dive in and start to take a look deeper, since you might already have it inside your organization, and see if it's going to fit your needs for your department and your specific needs. So kind of just, again, a couple moments, take a couple pauses and make sure that it's ready. And if you go, no, the tool doesn't really work, no one else is using something that could fit the bill, we definitely need to start thinking about moving. Be thoughtful, take a breath, really think about what is it specifically, and then be thorough. If it's not just, oh my God, this doesn't have great social integration, or I can't track the metrics I need to, or whatever the, again, multitude of reasons are. Take a breath. Think about all the ways in which you're maybe not able to do some of the communications, some of the tracking, some of the integration needs you might have. What are all the areas that are actually getting in your way of really being successful with your communication, your cultivation and your growth, your ongoing relationship building with your list, and identify and map out. Be specific. Think about what's getting in your way. And again, back to that conversation that you started with some of the other teams inside your organization. Are they missing things? What else is going on? What other needs have sprouted up since you started these conversations? We go, oh yeah, you know what? We've really been struggling with X. We don't have a great system that does volunteer management either. We'd love it if we could, piggyback that into this evaluation and selection of a new platform. Maybe we could find one that could also do, X for a different team. Maybe you do need membership tracking in a more sophisticated manner than you've been doing, just setting yourself reminders and things like that for membership renewal dates and things like that. And you're like, it'd be really cool if that was just automated. But maybe that's not your team's sweet spot, but you uncover these gaps across the organization. So start to gather sort of these gaps and sort of these needs. And you start calling those functional requirements of saying, what do I need a new platform to be able to do for me? And be thorough, be comprehensive, and go across departments. Because if you're going to, as an organization, put in the time and energy and effort again, and spend the money to get onto a new platform, if you can check more boxes at once, so much more efficient, so much more effective. And again, it starts to really create some of these areas for dialogue that maybe you hadn't seen or identified before, where there's opportunities for combining forces or collaborating more around communication efforts with other departments. So start to pull your list together, and then as you start to see, like, things will going to come. There'll be some overlap in some of the needs that different departments have, obviously, and so you might start seeing, oh gosh, we all need more sophisticated automated journeys. Oh gosh, we could all use these more automated reminders. Oh, really, we need greater social integration. Again, like, the lists kind of go on and on. And then you kind of think, okay, there's functionality, but why? What's the outcome? What is the desired outcome? Is it, I need more automated processing so that I can more easily identify more tailored segments and do more personalized communications? Great. So that I can cultivate my existing list a little bit better and maybe take my one-time donors into sustainers. I can take, my non-donors and hopefully help them become donors. I can take my event registrants, participants, and make them donors. There's a lot of opportunities for, if I could just do X in a more automated way, I really feel like I could achieve these great outcomes, and actually start to map out some of those outcomes and kind of take your baseline metrics of what's happening today. When I do the work that I do and the tools I have today, what are some of those outcomes and what do they look like today? So that when you do make a change, you can go back and say, great, now that we've put all these great new things in place, how much were we able to move the needle? You got to take some baselines. You got to really think about those outcomes. And then, really, obviously, there's opportunities that you know of today. And then as you start to go into the evaluation process, you'll also start to identify that, gosh, there are needs that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And that's a big a piece of this. But capture all these desired outcomes, really be clear, and start to measure what's happening today for your organization as clearly as you can, so that you'll be able to sort of see some of the outcomes that are going to happen when you get to a new platform. So that's some of your early prep work. Again, so this is where sometimes people get a little bit waylaid, but they cannot stress the importance of some of these things here, because again, the internal processes that you have in your organization are often the things that get in your way the most and can cause unforeseen or sort of there issues that are happening underneath the surface that people kind of blame a tool when really you just don't have great change management, you don't have good processes, you don't have good rules of engagement with a particular platform. So one of the things that we have found super helpful for teams is now that you've mapped out and you see like, gosh, I didn't know Department X was using a different platform or Department Y was using a different tool. Take the time to map out. Sometimes smaller organizations, this might be an easier process for you. Bigger organizations could take a little bit more time, but really get in the weeds and figure out how this data web, the schema actually works, what is happening in your organization, how does data flow in, constituent data, how is it being processed and dealt with internally. The biggest thing is who is communicating with the folks on the team, maybe again in these silos, and you don't understand. It's all about the user experience. If I'm a user on your list, how many different ways am I being communicated with? Do each of you know that the other one is speaking to that same person in somewhat probably disjointed and sort of not always on the same page kind of messaging? Once you map out a data schema and you start, all these light bulbs start to go off for people like, oh my God, I didn't realize, because people tend to think of it as like, these are my volunteers, these are my donors, these are my advocates, these are my people, and I talk to these people. Newsflash, they're all the same people. So, when you're sending out and you have your communications calendar and you're like, great, I'm going to message them, a couple times a month and this and that. And then the next team is also like, great, I'm going to message them, once or twice a month. Suddenly you might find that some people on your list are getting a lot of different messages from a lot of different teams. And it's sometimes hard for that user to navigate what's happening. So map out a data schema, what's happening, just make a map, literally put it on a piece of paper, start to really identify. The big ones are how the data is coming in, how many different times data is coming in from different sources. And the big one, then when you find an overlap, what happens when there is a conflict? What data overrides? Do people have those, all that data logic and overriding logic already mapped out? You may not know what data overrides what. Maybe a good idea to start looking into some of these things and sort of saying, gosh, again, when you move to a new platform, all this stuff gets uncovered later, but it's good to start just uncovering some of these processes now, even before you start looking, because you really are thinking about integrations, how it fits within the larger scheme of existing platforms in your organization. So you're not going to go do it in a vacuum. So start really understanding the lay of the land. If this hasn't happened at your organization, which many organizations that we come in contact with haven't done this work. So we like to really just call this out as critical first steps, mapping out, do the inventory. So that can take a little while. But again, when you're thinking about this, who's emailing? Who has the ability to send emails, delete users, change data in your record, in the constituent record? I'm often surprised how wide and open either CRMs or digital tools are in terms of who has access to, like, full admin access into these lists. That can lead to heartache sometimes when the wrong people have the wrong type of access and things can get deleted or overwritten in an incorrect way. Sometimes people are merging records and they choose the wrong record. They don't keep all the constituent data around and historical giving, and it can be trouble. So just really make sure you know who all has access to the thing, and really think about the roles and permissions that folks really need. Certainly you need, your communications assistant to help prep things, but maybe they don't have access to send the email until someone else has come in and previewed it and ensured that the query that's brought up the list that's going to go to has been double checked or things like that. So you can have almost every platform there obviously has permission levels, but think about, for the roles inside your organization, who has access to do some of these things and what do they really need to be able to do? Just because they're going to, prep a list or help create the content for a newsletter, they may not need access to every bit of detail inside a constituent record or the ability to delete somebody or overwrite data or merge records. So just be thoughtful about who's there. But the biggest thing is just understanding who all has access into what areas of your list, because it sometimes is a big eye opener when people start to ask these questions, and also clean it up. The biggest thing we see is that people have records in there that, oh, that person left 3 years ago, they're still listed as an admin. Just do your own house cleaning and just clean that up as you go. And here, when you're thinking about switching, it's a good time. It's like getting ready to move house. You kind of start to go through what's in this closet. Why is this even in here? I haven't looked at this for a while. Declutter. The other piece that we want to talk through is, so you've kind of now identified all these folks that are accessing your platform. One of the things that we really think is helpful when you're actually talking to the platform folks is coming up with these use cases and user scenarios. So we've just gone through a pretty extensive evaluation process with a global fundraising group. And they have all these offices all around the world, and they have very different needs in different offices. But we've been trying to come together and say, what's the common list of the use cases that you need a platform to be able to meet those needs in order for you to feel like it's a great fit for your organization on the whole. So think about Office A and Office B, or Department A and Department B. If you're trying to send a message out and you needed to have the ability for the platform to segment and push lists, but unsubscribe only from your list, but maybe not the global unsubscribe, or you need, again, international, you need multi-language, multi-currency, you need people to be able to set up a fundraising campaign in English and with US dollars, but if I see it in Canada, I need to very easily be able to give in Canadian dollars. Are these requirements that your organization has for a platform? Write them down, get them thought out, and really think about, again, some of the things that your current platform is not able to do for you. Be specific, detail it out, think about it now before you even start talking to platforms. It'll just make the evaluation and selection process go so much faster and so much easier if you as a team have already sort of pre-thought about these scenarios and use cases that a new tool will need to be able to meet to make sure that it's a good fit for your organization. So if it's things aren't working, great, document what's not working. And again, it's best if it's like a use case. And then if obviously things are just not even there, really call those out as this is just missing. And we'd love to know how we could incorporate, social integration or other things into your workflows and things like that, and how you do things as an organization. And try to be specific. Okay, before we pop into getting your team ready, just want to take a pause and see if anybody has questions about any of those things. That's a lot of info to digest, a lot of things to think through. I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, nobody's got any questions. It's because I'm so thorough. Just kidding. Okay, so the last piece we really try to help people think about in this first phase is thinking about your team. So you've looked at all your tools, you realize you definitely need to move, you've started to chart out these use cases. Now the big question, who is actually going to be involved in this process? Because here's another little baby news flash. It's a bit of work. So you really need to think about key stakeholders, maybe in different departments. You've got your events team, you've got your communications team, you've got your volunteers team, you've got your just straight development team, you've got your advocacy team. Do you want a stakeholder from every one of those departments? Is there a shorter list, a smaller list? Who really needs to sort of get involved in, again, approving, thinking through, evaluating? You can think about who needs to be involved in different stages of the process. So the evaluation, the research into the different platforms, and then, sitting on those demos, who needs to be at the table, and then obviously who who are some of those key decision makers that will be like, oh, you forgot about, maybe you didn't talk to X team or something, and then they get involved and they realize that we missed a piece of functionality in all these earlier requirements gathering. Try to be thorough, but it's best to keep the team involved fairly focused and fairly small. You don't want to try to schedule platform demos with a cast of thousands. That'll just make the process, go on and on and on. But you'd want to make sure that you're getting all those points of view at the table as well. And sort of in this phase, it's also really important to think about budget. So obviously you can think about what budget you have today, and then there's a budget for the software. But the other pieces that are often overlooked are just this whole process. It takes a while to do all this homework that we just talked through at your organization. Then it takes a while to research and identify platforms to look at, do the demos, communicate back and forth then with your, final selected tool provider, go through contract negotiations, and then get ready to migrate data and then get onboarded onto the platform. It's a lot. So you have to think about, there's just staff time, there are all the software costs, and if you're ever going to hire another team to help with a process, just think about these different pieces of your budget. And then sometimes you'll say, I just really need a new email tool. And then sometimes that is like you're pulling a little thread on the sweater, and suddenly it all, actually, we need a new fundraising platform. Oh, we need new peer-to-peer. Oh, we need, oh my God, we might need to think about a new CRM while we're at it. There's a lot at stake and a lot at play. So just be prepared in these early stages. Once you've kind of finally identified everything that's on the table, the platforms, the breadth of the platforms you're going to need to look at for the types of functionality. Do you think it's going to be one platform, two platforms? Unsure. So as you're thinking about this budgeting process, that's sometimes why it's good to kind of bring in another team like Firefly sooner than later into the process. You kind of go, okay, we've done our requirements gathering. I need help thinking about really budgeting for this. What's this actually going to look like? And then, the core project team, what's that time commitment going to be for them? And then are you ready to dedicate that much time for your staff? And please don't overlook or underestimate that staff time and what those actually dollars are into this process. It's sometimes a hidden cost, but certainly something we want to just keep at the forefront of people's brains when you're thinking about making a platform switch. It's having basically what I said here, at least a person kind of in that 5 to 10 hours a week, at least 3 or 4 months, if you're doing it right. And so that's a good chunk of time out of a full-time staff person. These external teams like a Firefly can help alleviate some of that, but then that's a different cost. So you kind of have to navigate, this person's really, I don't have a full body to dedicate to this, so I need an external team, or I can carve out enough time between this person and this person to kind of drive this process forward. I think we'll be okay with internal staff resources, but kind of really think that through. And then obviously the big ones are who's got the final approval when the budgets actually do come in. If it starts to be more than you originally anticipated, how hard is that process going to be when you come back inside and say, actually, turns out we need, another 2 platforms, not 1, to really get our full functional requirements met. And the costs are a little more than we originally anticipated as well. So just really think about this, and probably my little asterisk at the bottom. You might find that there isn't obviously a golden platform out there that does every single thing you ever wanted. So you might come down to the final 2. It's pretty common. And they sometimes have competing functional requirements, capabilities. So sometimes you have to make a call. You know what? We're going with platform A because it can do these 3 things. Platform B can do these other 3 things, but these are more important for us as an organization. So we're going to go over here. Who gets to make that call? Sometimes that can get a little thorny. So just try to think about that and prioritize your requirements sooner rather than later, so no one is surprised later on in the process. So your kind of final steps here, and this is, you can do a lot of these things kind of while you're evaluating platforms, but obviously once you've gone through and you've started to do these next few things about inventorying your list, also, it's not just your data, like your names, it's your assets, all these forms, all these email templates, other things that have been created over time. If you're like most people, it's like that you just have this never ending closet and you just keep pushing clothes you don't wear anymore into the back of the closet and the back of the closet, and you really never go back there again. And you're like, oh my God, I've got this jumpsuit from 1985, but guess what? It's hip now, but you probably still should give it to Goodwill. So you have to kind of do yourself a favor and not just think about the dirty data you might have that you don't want to bring, but some of those assets. So think about it, inventory the assets, and really streamline what actually needs to get moved. That jumpsuit from 1985 is pretty awesome, but do you need to move it into your new house? Maybe not. Maybe you give it to your teenage daughter. Actually, that's probably the best choice of all. But maybe Goodwill isn't the worst idea either. But think about cleaning up, inventorying, and then please also just don't go, well, who's used this? No one, blah, delete. Ask. You, again, back to that list of all the people that have access to your digital tools. Just because you're cleaning out the list doesn't mean that hopefully your tool will tell you, when things are being used. But if they don't just assume that this feels like an old email wrapper. Gosh, we haven't used this in forever. Maybe make sure you're asking before anything gets deleted. At the very least, you should just earmark things for not going to get moved, and just ensure that everybody send that list around, make sure everybody's on the same page. So no one is like, what the hell happened to my, template from a newsletter or whatever. That's happened. And it can be a bit of a daunting, you can rebuild them obviously, but it's better to think about keeping some of these things around when you're going to make that move. But so inventory, and then the data. The data. Cleaning your data. There are obviously multiple webinars just talking about keeping your data clean. It's a big one. And that will probably take a separate team working on that almost while you're looking at new tools. The whole process. So obviously duplicates, bad undeliverable emails that you no longer contact, you've got no data, you've got maybe a name and nothing else. Gosh, who knows how that got into your list. You've got just incorrect, you've got misspellings. Sometimes a lot of those undeliverables are just misspelled emails. Really think about doing a good inventory on your data if you haven't looked at your data in a while. Now's the time. Take a look at that. Don't wait until you're ready to think about migrating. Don't wait till you've chosen the platform and you're ready to go. Go in and do the closet cleaning now and do yourself a favor, because it takes longer than you think it's going to, and get that process going. And certainly you want to delete, clean, merge, tidy it up before you move. So many times, I'll just move it, and then if I don't need it, I'll just get rid of it over there. No. Please, please, please clean it before you move. It'll just make life so much easier and simpler once you move into your new platform, and make that use of the new platform so much more effective for you right out of the gate. So you're not in there like, gosh, I'm sorry that I brought this old yucky stuff into my new platform. Don't bring dirty boxes into a brand new house. It's really kind of depressing, honestly. So try not to. And then make sure you're anticipating what that window is going to look like on the other side, of how much time it's going to actually take. Folks will sort of say, gosh, we've got these onboarding plans. They're 8, 10, 12 weeks. And that's, again, what a lot of the software teams will sort of initially come out of the gate with, of getting you up and running on their new platforms. Be realistic with yourself. Does that feel good? Again, if you've done all this great prep work, that could be true. If you wait and then you select and you're able to do all the inventory cleanup, looking through, thinking through, making who's got access, what kind of permissions do I need, all my users, and you're doing that during your migration phase, it's just going to take that migration part so much longer. But think about onboarding and training, and then when you're maybe going to go live with a new tool, think about this as much as you can, sort of just to start prepping your team of, okay, it's going to take us a couple months to evaluate tools. It's going to take a few months to get on the tools. Please, please, please also don't rush this process. Too many people come to us in like May, June, and say, I need to get on new tools before end of year fundraising. And I say, no, not going to happen. Don't do that to yourself. You don't want to rush your way onto a new platform, especially with something as sensitive and crazy as end of year fundraising coming on your, breathing down your neck, or my giant event, or my big gala, or my big volunteer driven thing. I need everything in there and it working perfectly. Try not to schedule a launch of a new platform like minutes before some major event. Please back it out, give yourself plenty of time, really think about what you're going to need to get fully onboarded, fully trained, and your team feeling really successful before you literally just dump them in the deep end and go, oh, the old platform's getting turned off next week. What? And make sure you communicate, sort of these plans. And just like a house project, I typically tell people to give it like a 15 or 20% buffer in your plan. So right now you're like, I think we should be able to do some 3 or 4. Give yourself at least 4 or 5 months to do it, to be realistic and come out the other side successfully, because it can be very stressful, very choppy, unexpected things come up along the way. So really think it through and really be thoughtful and planful about what it's going to look like, and how many rounds of training. If you've just identified 20 users, that's not going to happen in a week. You're not going to get all those people trained and feeling good and successful, and they know how to set up and send emails. They know how to run queries. They know how to set up the action alerts. They can send out messages to just their segment. It's going to take a little bit of time and give people that time to sort of get in there, get their hands dirty, get trained. And also, I'll just say, training is definitely not the same thing as using. So plan for maybe like send some test emails, get in there and actually do it yourself, because listening to a software team, run you through a training all sounds amazing. Oh yeah, this is super easy. I got this. And then your day comes where you log in and you have to do it yourself. You're like, what was that thing again? And you need to do that a couple times before you're under the gun and like under pressure and have to get something out the door. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time. So those are some of the big picture items of kind of preparing about how to get your team mentally prepared, psychologically, emotionally prepared for inventorying. So back to the beginning, here's what we covered today. Getting real deep and real specific on what are my major issues? What are the issues across my entire organization? Please don't do this in a silo. What are you actually trying to achieve? What are the outcomes? Make again sure, can my current platform do what I needed to do and I just don't know how to do it? Have I not been fully trained? That's perhaps the most important question people can ask and get answered. What are all the platforms we use? Who all is using them? What are they using it for? And then what are the use cases of things that we all have identified that we can't do very effectively using our current platforms? And then really get serious about the team, get serious about the timelines that are going to be involved, your budgets, and the project team. Who's gonna be running this train? And do you need help? Many teams can do this themselves very effectively. Again, we help lots of teams through all these steps: inventorying, getting ready, evaluating platforms, and doing that migration. So be honest with yourself. Do you have the capacity? Do you want to take it on yourself? Do you want assistance a little bit along the way, a lot along the way? Start to think about that as a team as well as you put together sort of those timelines and budgets. Yeah, so that's what we talked about. No, I didn't see any questions. So I'll stop talking and see if there's any questions that come up. Has anybody, maybe we could ask anybody want to volunteer if you're already already considering or already in the middle of a platform migration, just trying to think through more things? Is there anything about your migration right now that's like some nugget that you can't get through? Problems? Got it all nailed. It's okay. Oh, kicking tires. All right. There's a lot of tire kicking that happens, and I do not disagree with tire kicking. But I think that the tire kicking can sometimes be best use of time if you've kind of got all your internal ducks in a row and you really are sure about what you're looking for when you're kicking those tires. So those are the ways we try to help people make the best use of their time when they're kicking tires. But certainly if you're just starting to think about when this might happen, these are definitely some things. And we're going to send out sort of a bigger checklist. We'll obviously send out the recording and you'll have the deck. So you can go back and look through and say, oh gosh, are we asking all these right questions? Are we doing the right inventorying? Do we have the right folks lined up? We're kind of making just a quick checklist. So you can just have that as a 1-pager too, just to make sure you're prepping appropriately. I know the guide specifically talked about tools that integrate with Salesforce. So if you're also in the middle of a CRM move and you're trying to find new digital tools, I feel ya. And I know that a CRM migration in and of itself can sort of eat a whole team's brains all at once. So I get it if like you're kind of like, we know the digital platform piece is coming, but we're working on a CRM migration right now. Happy to chat with anybody about those things as well. Like, I looked at the guide, there's a lot in there. I have some other questions about what might be the right fit for me and what tools I want to take a look at. Drop me a line. I'm happy to just talk it all through and help you kind of make sense of some next steps for you all. What else we got here? Anticipate some of the new tasks that we'll need. Certain jobs are with people who took initiative, reevaluating what you're doing now. Yeah. And that's true. Sometimes when you get onto a new platform, you kind of things shift. And so it is hard sometimes to anticipate what's going to happen on the other side of a migration. And those are great. It's like right now when you're thinking, here's all my team members that do X, Y, and Z right now. And they do these on these platforms because, a lot of times there's manual workarounds, for example. And God willing, those manual workarounds go away. But then there's new things that come up. You're like, oh, wait, but now they have to do these other things in the platform because it's either got new functionality or it's helping to create some additional workflows that we didn't have before because this wasn't even available to us before. So those are things that it's hard to anticipate. You're right. And those are things you just have to think about again, like the roles, who's doing what. And as you look at these new tools, it's just one of those pieces in that migrating onboarding. When you think about how those roles are going to change when you're in a new platform that sort of has different functionality. And that's something that it's almost impossible, you're right, to sort of like anticipate how it's going to change, but just be thoughtful about who is doing what now and how that may change, or how you hope, like, Tina's doing a lot of manual work right now. Please, let's let her do other things, in the next iteration of our lives, because this integration is going to happen and there isn't any more downloading and uploading of lists, tiers also. But what's Tina's best use of her time now if that automation, if the data is automatically flowing and she's not spending 12 hours a week pushing data from one system to another? What else can she be doing, and what are new things that she can learn? Definitely good to think about. Perfect. Thanks everyone for tuning in. So next Thursday, we're going to go to the next phase. So yeah, these are good. Get these kind of questions rumbling around. We'll download and send you this video, the deck and everything. So if other people weren't able to come to this call, you can send this around inside your organization. Certainly if you can share the deck around. And again, my door is always open. So if you ever have a question or a need, shoot me a note, shoot Katie a note. you can shoot it to hello@fireflypartners.com, and we'll get it and we'll respond and get back to you. Come to our site, fill out start your project form. Even if you're not ready to start your project, we'll schedule a call with you. And then if you haven't and you've just tuned into this and you haven't seen the full guide, be sure to download that. And so we'll make sure we have links to the whole guide if you haven't seen it. And this webinar will come with the deck after. And if I don't see any other questions right now, we'll wrap it up and let everyone get a few minutes back in your day. And we'll hopefully see you all next Thursday. Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Thursday.